Alright guys, it's kind of late night, but that's the way it goes, right? When it's my garage, so it's kind of cold, so I'm gonna make this quick. But one of my favorite quotes is actually from a very awesome sci-fi show. It's called Doctor Who. You guys might have heard of it. It's amazing. One of my favorite quotes is, "It's wibbly wobbly timey wimey thingy." Now, it might not make sense to you guys. It'll make sense of it. Several people, awakened individuals like myself, can see perceptiveness of people's futures based off of their energy and their feeling and what they occur out of it. Now, for me, for a lot of people, it's not. I'm going to say a lot of people. Just a lot of people, is they see different timelines. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And then a lot of other people, this is the way I see it, see timelines for people as maybe multiple solid lines, usually one. Usually one solid timeline. This is their trench. This is their life. They're heading down straight path for one direction. Okay? And then, this is where the wibbly wobbly timey wimey thingy comes into play. A lot of people will have kind of these timey wimey wobbly things. Alternative paths. Wibble in and out, wibble wobble in and out, mixing in, intermingling with the straight line path. So this straight line path is going each individual way, flip-flopping, life goes crazy, right? That's a wibbly wobbly timey wimey thingy that I'm talking about. That is free will, my friends. You'd be surprised, people put themselves on autopilot a lot of times. They go, okay, this is the way I'm going to live, and this is where I'm going. But then there are some people, usually awakened individuals, sometimes not. Very interesting, those people. Yes, very interesting, I say. Those people that essentially have a straight path that they're going, but there are multiple that split and branch off. In between them, there are multiple timey-wimey thingies that interact and flip-flop and make all craziness. And here's the funny thing. People walk along a trench in their life, but yet someone that is perceptive, the wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey thing, can step in at that moment where it intersects, where it comes so close, almost touching, and make them touch. Then their life switches around drastically. For example, a girl I knew, and usually I'm not wrong about it. Sometimes I am. That's the way it goes. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey thing. It makes a lot of things go wibbly wobbly timey wimey weirdy, which is awesome. Most people usually are like point A, point B, death. Okay, well this girl was, shall we say, promiscuously interested, and was doing a lot of stupid stuff. Well, if you know where to step in and say the right word at the right time, put your foot down, and guess what? Right at the wibbly wobbly timey wimey thingy, you say the right word or have someone else say it, and the path switches. And the path switched to, instead, being pregnant at about 16, doing stupid stuff, just still doing stupid stuff, but not nearly being pregnant. Time switched, time shifts. That's the way I look at it. That's where I've looked. I started writing my equations based on a wave function now, because it makes more sense to me individually, that time and space is wave function based on a more dimensional place than we could think of. Our physical reality is wave function. It has wave functions within it. Interacts and affects our atomic structure. theoretically, me standing here, I have theoretically a chance, small chance, that literally I could pass through this floor right now into the center core of our planet because our atomic struck, and I just would fall through the floor. Theoretically, I've got the same percentage chance that it's kind of comical, um, that I'll take this solid object when it's actually closed, and that I'll push right through it. Theoretically, that's possible. It's based off our function and our elusive nature of our universe. It's an amazing thing. Now, I think as you go up in your dimensional scales, we perceive things in a 340 universe, 3D usually referred to as. We perceive things as certain things being very light wave, being a wave, being reflective. You know, they're very keen separation. And as you go into lower dimensions, lower and lower and lower, there's less effect on energy matter and wave function. There's less waves in it. There are waves still. There's still the points and individual points, and there are still waves that can affect our in that universe. But it is less effective. So in other words, it becomes less timey-wimey, as one might say. Where as you move up, in other words, you get into time, waves and things and energy matter becomes way more different. And as you continue up, this has way more effect on what will be. Like for me right now, there is literally, you would say it's impossible for me to go to the center of our planet. Just drop down and suddenly go into the center of our planet. It's physically impossible, one may say. Or technically, in physics sense, it's not physically impossible. It's just heavily, heavily improbable. It's more likely that I would actually have one or two atoms break down into the floor, which actually does occur, ever so slightly, and just simply drop off and mix with that, you know. But the possibility is still there, still physically there. I could drop down and die at the center core of our planet. Uh-oh. If I suddenly disappear in the floor, you know why. But the probable scenario of that occurring is actually very unlikely. Whereas you go up in the dimensional wise, in dimensional sense, well, then the likelihood increases. And even the percentage chance that you can control it increases ever so much more. Weird stuff like that could happen, but yet your matter is essentially energy, and that you are more expanded outwards, that you are more affected by that energy level, then therefore you are having the greater chance of dropping down to the center of the planet. But then, in that sense, you would have the same equal chance of being able to pop yourself back up as you choose. Interesting idea, isn't it? Physics is a very fine subject, and is starting to align with many of what people have said. If you want to put it in that sense, as the physics sense, as if you were moving to higher dimensions, let's say somehow we existed in a fifth dimension. Just entertain this idea for a second. Entertain it. If we exist in the fifth dimension, that could be considered spirit matter. That can be considered soul matter. It is unrelated if it's affected by time, yes, but it is moving forwards and backwards. It's able to go back and forth as it chooses. It's able to intersect within physical reality, within the 3D universe, but it's like for us to lay down a piece of paper. It can simply pop through between. It can move around things, you know? Because, I mean, to us, let's take a 2D universe, would be a piece of paper. We can move in and out and above and around and under and between it and on its surface and yet not on its surface. We can do that. Now, let's say we existed in the fifth dimension. Now, if we existed in the fifth dimension, our physical being, in other words, our planet, would not be resistant because we could just move between it. We could move around it and yet be there at the same time. It's like us taking our hand and moving it under the piece of paper. Same exact concept. So then, if we existed in that sense, couldn't the things that are being described, astral travel, be a physical possibility? It's an interesting concept to entertain, and this is putting in physics terms, which is very interesting. And to put out the actual equations where the possibility that you could drop down the center of our planet, putting out the entertaining those ideas in the way that the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, the seventh, the eighth, the 12th, all the way up to it's 12 or 13. No, I think it's 12 dimensions. 12 dimensions is what they've gone up to. And it's still hotly debated. Actually, not as much as it used to be. But still debated on whether it's a 10 or it's an 11 system or a 12 system. So, very interesting now, isn't it? But as you move up, couldn't you imagine that things begin to change? The human mind has a hard concept of comprehending. They take the best way to actually describe the multiple different dimensions, take the entire dimension that is us, and just pop that out there. And trust me, look up, what was that video? There was one exploring the multiple different dimensions. You could do like exploring the 12th dimension, exploring the 10th dimension, exploring the ninth dimension, the 5th dimension, so on and so forth. You want to start from first dimension, second dimension, third dimension. I think it's first and second or one video, and then third is another, fourth is an individual, five, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And it explains it as a whole, what the dimensions would actually mean, but it doesn't explain how, on an individual scale, we would be affected. You can explain the whole, but the individual parts are very hard for the human mind to wrap its head around. And that's just a completely different subject all to its own. I could spend an entire amount of videos that I've spent already on here, which are quite a few, I must say, pointing out all these different videos. And I don't think that I would be able to cover the entire concept of dimensional physics, which is one that I'm still looking into and very much studying, very much fascinated. I'm actually planning on sitting in on some lectures. As soon as I get a ride and the fiscal means, because I can't afford it, it's not going to pay me right off the bat, so I can't just go to college for it. I could, but where am I going to get a job? Nuclear engineering? It's not exactly physics I'm interested in. Anyway, as I'm saying now, peace, love, and happiness. See you guys.